You've saved $17,000 and you still feel broke. That's because the math your parents taught you is dead. Your savings account paid you $42 in interest last year. Inflation stole $973 from that same account. You're not building wealth, you're watching it evaporate at a rate of $77 every single month. The high-yield savings account your financial advisor told you was safe. It's returning 4.3% while real inflation sits at 7.1% for your generation specifically. I had $19,000 saved by age 24. I felt responsible ahead of my peers, like I was doing adulthood correctly. I'd been socking away $350 every month since my first job at 19, living with roommates in a $900 bedroom, eating rice and beans 4 nights a week to hit that number. My dad told me that's what he did, and by 30 he'd bought his first house for $89,000 on a $52,000 salary. I ran my numbers. Here's what they're not telling you. The average Gen Z worker will change careers, not jobs but entire careers, 5.7 times before age 40. Each transition costs you between 8 and 14 months of income instability. That's not even counting the $23 trillion in climate adaptation costs economists project will hit between now and 2050. Or the fact that 62% of jobs you're qualified for today will be automated or fundamentally transformed by 2035. So what do you do when the math doesn't math? You stop playing their game and you start playing the game that actually exists in front of you. Traditional advice says save 15% of your income and invest in index funds returning 10% annually for 40 years. But you don't have 40 stable years. You have maybe 6 years before your industry transforms, 18 months before your rent increases another 12%. And exactly zero guarantee that the market returns of the past 7 decades will repeat in a future with demographic collapse and resource constraints. Let me show you the actual calculation that changed everything for me. I took $6,000 from my savings account, the account earning me $21 per year, and I spent it on 3 things over 8 months. $1,500 on a specialized certification in data analytics that took 90 hours to complete. $2,000 on a used camera and editing software to document my learning process publicly. $2,500 on flying to 2 conferences where I met 11 people who actually worked in roles I wanted. The opportunity cost. That's $18,000 more every single year, which annualizes to a 300% return on my $6,000 investment in year 1. Even if we're conservative and only count the first year's increase, that $6,000 returned $18,000, a net gain of $12,000 in 12 months. Your savings account could never, your index fund could never, but here's where it gets exponential. Year 2, I used the content I'd created during learning to land 2 freelance clients at $4,000 each. Now you're thinking that's luck, that's not replicable, that's survivorship bias. So let's stress test it. What if I'd failed? What if the certification led nowhere, the content got 0 views, and the conference contacts never responded? Worst case, I'm out $6,000 and I have 90 hours of new verified skills, 200 hours of documented learning content that proves I can execute, and I've physically met 11 industry professionals who know my face and name. The skills don't disappear, the network doesn't evaporate, the proof of work exists forever. This is expertise compound interest, and it operates on completely different mathematics than market returns. Market returns are capped by economic growth, which averages 7 to 10% in equities long-term. Expertise returns are capped by the value gap between what you know now and what the market pays for rare skills. If you're earning $45,000 and you learn a skill that's worth $80,000 in the market, that's a $35,000 value gap you can capture. Capture just half of it through negotiation or a job switch, and that's $17,500 per year forever. Here's the formula. Take 20 to 30% of your current savings and redeploy it into skills that meet 3 criteria. 1. The skill must be verifiable through a certificate, portfolio, or public project. 2. It must address a value gap of at least $15,000 between your current compensation and market rate for someone with that skill. 3. It must be deployable within 6 to 12 months maximum. This isn't education for education's sake. This is strategic capital allocation into human capital assets with measurable ROI timelines. The real strategy isn't saving more. It's spending exactly $6,000 right now to build skills that compound at 18% annually. Let me get specific because vague advice is worthless. If you're in marketing making $47,000, spend $1,400 on a 12-week Google Analytics and conversion optimization certification, Then spend $800 creating 5 case studies where you analyze real businesses' conversion funnels publicly. That $2,200 investment positions you for growth marketing roles paying $68,000 to $85,000. If you're in sales at $51,000, spend $1,900 on a Salesforce admin certification and build 3 mock implementations you can demo in interviews. That targets roles at $72,000 to $92,000. Now here's the part that breaks everyone's brain. You still save, just differently. Instead of saving 15% into accounts earning 4%, you save 8% into high yield for your 6-month emergency fund, period. That's non-negotiable stability. Then you take the other 7% and you deploy it quarterly into skills with 6 to 18-month payback periods. Every 90 days, you're launching a new capability that increases your market value. 4 skill investments per year at $1,500 each equals $6,000 annually. The traditional model says sacrifice now for security later, but later keeps moving. Your parents' later was 30 years of stable employment, then retirement at 65. Your later is 6 career changes, 4 industry disruptions, 2 potential economic depressions, and a climate-altered world by the time you're 50. Security doesn't come from having $80,000 in index funds that could have in value overnight during the next black swan event. Security comes from having 12 income streams because you've built 8 different valuable skills over 12 years. You're not hoping the market recovers. Back to my story. By month 27 after that first $6,000 deployment, I'd built enough proof and network that I left my $67,000 job. Not for another job, I went independent. My first 90 days freelancing, I earned $28,000 working with 3 clients I'd met through content and conferences. That annualizes to $112,000, a 67% increase from my previous salary. But here's what the math doesn't capture. I worked 23 hours per week on average. The other 17 hours that would have been spent in meetings and commuting. Could I have done this with traditional advice? Let's run the numbers. If I'd kept that $6,000 in index funds and stayed at my $49,000 job, saving 15% annually, by month 36 I'd have accumulated approximately $23,000 in total savings and investment accounts. Conservative 7% returns would put me at around $25,000 total. My actual path. I'm earning $112,000 annualized, which after aggressive 30% tax withholding and saving that same 15%, gives me $90,000 in income over 12 months. This isn't about abandoning all traditional wisdom. You still need that emergency fund. 8% of gross into high-yield savings until you hit 6 months of expenses is the foundation. That's your psychological safety net so you can take the intelligent risks that compound. But once that's funded, every additional dollar going into passive investments while you're underskilled is a wasted opportunity. You're in your 20s or early 30s. Your human capital is at peak plasticity. Your brain learns faster now than it will at 45. So here's your actual strategy. Month 1, audit your current market value. Search 12 job postings for your role, identify the salary ranges, find the 3 skills mentioned most frequently that you don't have. Month 2, choose 1 skill with the clearest $15,000 value gap and deploy $1,000 to $2,500 to acquire it verifiably within 90 days. Month 3 through 5, build 3 portfolio pieces proving you can deploy this skill in real scenarios. Month 6, leverage this for either a raise negotiation or a strategic job move, targeting that $15,000 increase. The grief you're feeling is real. The future your parents had isn't available at any price. A 40-hour week at one employer for 30 years with a pension and a house you bought on a single income at age 28 is gone. That timeline is dead. But here's what they didn't have. Global remote work, free learning resources, content platforms that let you build an audience of 10,000 in 6 months, and marketplaces where you can sell skills directly to businesses without a corporate intermediary taking 70%. You have weapons they never had. Stop saving for a future that requires the world to stay stable for 40 years. Start building skills for a future that rewards the adaptable, the multi-capable, the impossible to categorize. The calculator in the description will show you exactly which skills have the highest ROI for your current salary and industry. Plug in your numbers. Find your 3 $15,000 gaps. Deploy your first $2,000 in the next 30 days. I'll see you at 6 figures in 18 months, not through luck or inheritance, but through ruthless strategic capital allocation into the only asset that compounds in chaos. You. Stop grieving, start building wealth that survives what's coming. The calculator's in the description. If this video resonated with you, hit subscribe. Uncomfortable Truths releases new videos every day on psychology, relationships, mindset, and productivity, and more. Turn on notifications so you never miss one. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's always worth it.